In the last lesson, we saw we can do some logging out the different headers within this promise. We can also check to see what the status is. So if we wanted to, we could have a condition here and we can see if response.status is equal to 200. And this will make sure that we've actually got a connection. And if it's not equal to 200, then we can say something like console. So that way we've got another option here to just to make sure that everything is working properly. And also we can also output that status code. So it's always a good idea to see what status code it is if it's not 200. So you could output a message within your console if there's a problem with the response. And you've got some other options here to do something with that response object. And just to make sure that everything is as expected, you can go through and you can do some conditions on that as well. So additional conditions as well if needed. Another thing that I wanted to do is I just really want to update this because we are using functions. We can also shorten this and use the fat functions. Those are those fat arrows. So let's clean all of this stuff up so we don't need it anymore. And I'll get rid of this console stuff here. We'll keep the console error. So let's move this one down and let's keep all of the promises on the same line so we can a lot easier see them. So let's update our functions. We can update the functions to the fat arrows. So that's another option, and that actually makes it look a lot cleaner, makes your code look a lot cleaner. So we see that we've got the first function and we're returning JSON. So we've got our response there. So we can get rid of some of these brackets, turn this into the fat arrow. So it's the newer format for doing functions. And we don't have to do a return anymore because this is automatically doing a return on there. We got to make sure we're keeping JSON in there, and we also have to close off that request. So we've got the response JSON. Let's try it out. Just make sure that everything is still working. So refresh, and we're still getting our information back. So we know that things are still working. So let's update this one as well. So with the same idea that we can get rid of some of this excess here, and we can turn it into the fat arrows. So let's clean this one up as well. So we know that we're using JSON, and we can grab this and keep it on one line. So we can get rid of some of the variables there. Clean this up as well. And let's save that and try this out. So still working, and we can see if we can even shorten it even more. So we know with catch, we can get rid of that function as well. So we're passing along the error. Let's turn this one into the fat arrow as well. And here, we just want to simply console log that out. And we can shorten this one as well. So there we go. So it's quite a bit of shortening that we could do. And we can actually see the chaining of the promises here a little bit better as well. So we got rid of some of the excess and we streamlined what we're doing within that fetch. So let's try that out one last time and just make sure that everything is still working. So this is optional. If you're comfortable with working with the fat arrows, then this is going to look a lot neater within your code. And of course, you can still use the same functions that we were working with earlier as well. So these are just some of the options that you have when you're making your fetch. So go ahead, try this out for yourself, update your code, clean it up, and get rid of some of the excess that you might not need within your code. We also have the option to clean this up even more, make it look a whole lot cleaner. We can use functions for that. So let's create some functions. So this one is going to be response. And then here we can do exactly what we were doing over here. Clean it up as JSON and simply return it back. So let's do our return. So we could return that JSON, and instead of having that, we could simplify it even more. And before we try it, we got to make sure we're putting this into the argument so we can pick it up here within the function. So let's refresh, try it out. So it's still working. So those are some of the options that you could do in order to clean up your code. So try it out for yourself. Even maybe clean up this one, turn it into a function down here. You can use the fat arrows as well. So whatever you prefer. Before the next lesson, try this out for yourself. Make some updates to the code. Try to clean it up a little bit. In the next lesson, I'm going to show you even more options that you can do with fetch.